Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of UC Sports. I'm Christina Lenihan alongside Brandon Carney. Many of the fall sports teams had their senior day on campus this weekend, and the football team suffered another tough loss at the Rent.
That's right, Christina. Also on tap, men's basketball played a special exhibition game against Providence for disaster relief on Wednesday. All that and more on UC Sports coming up next.
UConn Football is riding a two-game winning streak coming into their matchup against SEC opponent Missouri on Saturday. Though the Tigers came in with a 2-5 record, they looked like a top-tier SEC team the way the team picked apart the Huskies. UCTV's Ian O'Connor was there with the coverage.
Coming into Halloween weekend with a two-game win streak, the UConn football team looked to extend that streak against the visiting SEC opponent Missouri. But instead, the Huskies were tricked and treated to a blowout at the hands of the Tigers, as UConn had no answers for Missouri's offensive onslaught. The UConn defense played a major role in their past two games, and they got off to a good start when an errant snap led to a safety on Missouri's first possession, putting UConn ahead 2-0 early. But the Tigers quickly buckled down, stopping UConn on defense and scoring 21 unanswered points on 3 touchdown passes from junior quarterback Drew Lock. The Huskies managed to get a field goal from Mike Tarbett, but the Tiger offense never let up, eventually taking a 31-5 lead into halftime. The Tigers' lead extended to 40 points on a 72-yard catch and run by Jonathan Johnson from Locke, who finished the game 31 of 37 for 377 yards and 5 touchdowns. UConn finally scored their first touchdown of the game late in the third quarter on a 1-yard run by Kevin Mensah, but it was too little too late as the Huskies fell to Missouri 52-12 in a game that head coach Randy Edsall would prefer to forget.
The only thing you can do is come into work tomorrow and get better. That's all you can do. That's all I know how to do.
Perhaps the lone bright performance of the night came from Hergy Mayala, who finished with 9 catches and 116 yards. But moving on from this game was much more prevalent in the players' minds.
We got to build on it. We got to forget about it real quick and then get ready for USF.
We have to draw a line and really step up. And I think it starts with the seniors. It starts with the leaders, and we have to do a better job. And I think that's what we're going to talk about.
The Huskies will look to get back on track next Saturday when they host ranked American Conference rival South Florida here at the Rent. From Pratt & Whitney Stadium, I'm Ian O'Connor, UC Sports.
And basketball season continues creeping closer and closer as both the men's and women's teams begin exhibition games this week. But before the regular exhibition games get underway, the UConn men played in a special one against former conference rival Providence. Our own Ryan Kim has more.
Basketball and community came together on Wednesday night as the UConn men's basketball team and Providence College teamed up to donate over $75,000 to the American Red Cross in what would be their first exhibition game of the 2017-18 basketball season.
A preseason contest pit two former Big East rivals against one another. However, this wasn't just to have a first look at the newest Huskies in game action. It wasn't even about the game of basketball, but something bigger. With the devastation of 3 major hurricanes, Harvey, Irma, and Maria, the NCAA granted waivers for all teams to play an additional exhibition game so long as it benefited charity. UConn and Providence College took advantage, teaming up to benefit the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund while putting on a show. The schools donated $75,000 towards the fund with this game.
It's just great to play for a bigger cause. They always say it's bigger than basketball, and today it was bigger than basketball.
Despite no direct impact on the New England area, players and staff were grateful for the chance to give back. Notably, redshirt junior Terry Larrier, who has family ties to the affected areas.
I have family in the Caribbean, so it kind of hit close to home for me. And just why not help?
Game-wise, it was a 76-90 loss that mainly focused on building chemistry for Kevin Ollie's team with 8 new members and 2 key returning players from year-long injuries.
From Mohegan Sun Arena, Ryan Kim, UC Sports.
The women's soccer team endured a tough season in what was a learning year for the younger squad, but that didn't stop them from having a thrilling senior send-off. The Huskies were hoping to finish the season on a high against visiting AAC opponent Temple on Friday night with tournament seeding on the line. UC Sports' Ryan Kim has the update.
The UConn women's soccer team finished up their regular season against the Temple Owls. Before the game, they honored 5 seniors, each one of them with a unique UConn career.
Tanya Altrui, Faith McCarthy, Sabrina Toole, Danielle Gotwick, and Courtney Hofer were recognized before the game for their accomplishments on the pitch and in the classrooms. All 5 started the match, shifting some season-long starters to the bench. The teams combined for 20 shots on goal throughout the first half. However, both goalkeepers Morgan Basilio and Courtney Hofer were spotless to hold the team scoreless at the break. UConn and Temple matched 1-for-1 in a thrilling second-half effort. The Owls' Elena Falcone came with the first strike. UConn then came with the pressure, breaking through with 2 goals in 5 minutes by Vivian Bile and Sabrina Toole. Toole praises her team's chemistry for her offensive success this year.
It has a lot to do with chemistry because I have a sense of where she's going to kick it, and I run through the first 2 defenders, which is hard to defend.
Karen McGinley answers again for Temple to tie it back at 2. As overtime loomed, Bile says, "See ya later," connecting this time on an Elena Santos cross in the 87th minute to send the seniors out in style.
The Huskies finished their regular season at 7-8-3 and will head to the American Athletic Conference tournament in the middle of the pack. Their next game comes Wednesday in Orlando, Florida. From Joseph J. Maroney Stadium, I'm Ryan Kim with UC Sports.
I'm now joined at the desk by soccer analyst Ryan Kim, who's been following the team all season long. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan, what did you think led to UConn's disappointing 7-8-3 finish for the year?
Well, I mean, it really comes down to 3 things on the year: their youth, their inexperience, and the tough competition that they faced early on. Because if you look, there was 5 seniors that graduated, which is a decent amount, but their key offensive players left the team last year due to graduation. So if you have your key points, goals, and assist leaders leaving the team, someone's got to step up. And this year, they just haven't been able to find that one person that they can run the offense through. That's been, problem number 1. Problem number 2, like I said, is inexperience. The people that are returning on the starting line, they didn't log too many minutes last year. So when you look at the production that they've had, it's kind of, they're very, again, because they're inexperienced, they're very, they don't have that game experience yet to the point where they can, read the opposition's defense, or they can read the offensive pressure or something like that. It got better as the year went on, as we saw later in the year, but with the tough competition, they got shut out in 3 of their first 4 games. And, they faced Rutgers and Syracuse, who historically over time, they've had very good programs, but in the AAC, they've struggled, specifically against the Florida teams. Central Florida and South Florida in particular gave them struggles, and that really shows just the experience on their part with Florida, because they didn't lose too many players last year, so the experience that they have kind of translated to their game this year, and they were able to exploit the Huskies' defensive and offensive struggles this year.
It's obvious the Huskies will have to win the American Conference tournament to see another double NCAA tournament appearance. What do they need to do to make this happen?
Yeah, well, the next game comes against Memphis in Orlando, so it's at a neutral site, but it's down in Florida. Like I said, they've had struggles down in Florida. But the good news is they're coming off of a win. They're coming off a win against Temple, so their morale is high. They're feeling really good about themselves. But the main thing here is they have to keep scoring the goals. They had 3 goals against Temple, one of them coming really late in the game to seal the deal. But they got to score. The earlier they score, the better it's going to be, because you're taking the pressure off the defense and you're gaining confidence throughout the game rather than just over one half of play.
Thanks, Ryan. I'll bring it back to you with more analysis in a bit. But first, let's look at Ray Reid and the men's soccer team. They also hosted senior night this Saturday against Memphis. Pre-game, the Huskies honored manager David Abinah and players Jack Stefan Coley, Andrew Garris, Alex Cow, Santiago Morel, and Scott Levine. UConn led early on Nick Apostle's second of the season, but couldn't hold it. The Tigers struck for 2 in the second half to hand the Huskies their third consecutive loss. The final home game is Tuesday in-state rival Yale before finishing out the season in Dallas on Saturday at SMU. With that being said, Ryan, thanks for sticking around the pitch. With the current 3-game losing skid, how do you think this affects the Huskies moving forward to their last games of the year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely coming off a three-game losing streak, rather, you really don't want to see that from any team. But it's mainly, in my opinion, I think it's going to affect their the defensive line only because when you look at it, they're putting so much more pressure on Scott Levine to be just perfect. You know, they're going out there and Levine feels this pressure of, okay, I can't let up a goal because if I let up a goal, coming off of 3 losses, we may not necessarily strike back and be able to get that win. Mm-hmm. So on that end, it really drains the momentum out of the team. It's, coming off of a win, it's like, all right, we're going to go into the next game. Hopefully we can get the win. We played really well. But 3 straight losses, it's really crushing to your team just because you feel defeated and it's just, when are we going to get that next win?
Exactly. And finally, what's the ceiling for this UConn team that had some struggles against non-conference opponents?
Yeah, well, they had some close losses and ties early on, and a lot of them, just like the women had, a lot of them came from tough matches that they faced early on. But also early in the season, it's different from the women, is they just couldn't score the ball. They've had 19 goals all year. And that's not a low number per se, but that's definitely not an ideal number that's going to win you too many games. Going to the conference tournament, however, it could be a better test for them to see their success going forward, only because they're 4-2 in the conference. Yeah, they have lost their last 2, but they feel really good going into the conference tournament as the number 2 seed currently. Obviously, they still have that one game to play on Tuesday, but currently 4-2 record in the American Conference, no ties, so you're either winning or losing. Hopefully, staying on the winning side, and another thing is they kept it really close against Maryland. That Maryland game, to me, was key in how they could handle the rest of the season, just because that came kind of towards the middle of their season. It was their biggest game of the year, arguably. And currently, Maryland's ranked number 21. And for the most part, the Huskies were able to stick with them. So with that performance, a 3-2 loss against Maryland, I think it really showed that this team, they have the grit to power through. They can, they can come in clutch sometimes, but they just really got to shore up scoring more goals and not relying too much on the defense. Even though Scott Levine, he does have a 1.01 goals allowed against, which that's phenomenal, but you can't, going into tournament time, you can't put that much pressure on the goalie.
Coming up next, we'll have some more updates on UConn fall sports.
Welcome back. The UConn field hockey team continued their domination over the weekend, capping off their undefeated season with a win over number 11 Boston College. But this game was extra special for the Huskies. It was senior day, and with this team being led by a trio of impressive seniors, this game was one to remember. Our own Chinadu Amanu has the story.
UConn women's field hockey team extended their win streak to 17 games as they defeated Boston College 3-0. Though this win will count like any other in the stat sheet, it was a special night for the top team in the nation as it was senior night. The Huskies will be losing 5 players after this season, all of whom have made their mark. Maureen Scott, a redshirt junior from New Canaan, Connecticut, was a key role player who often came off the bench to see action at forward. Though Scott is not a senior, she will be graduating this upcoming spring with the rest of her senior teammates. Carly Heaston, a key piece of this team at midfield, started most of the games she played in at UConn. She was a key part of the defense in 2016, which only allowed 1.22 goals per game, and continued to improve this season. Casey Umstead was a key part of the defense, who also happened to frequently find the back of the net. Known for her high efficiency scoring on penalty strokes, Umstead's reputation and play made her a 2016 third-team All-American.
It's just an amazing feeling being with these girls for 4 years. We've created friendships and on and off the field, and being able to beat BC on our last game of regular season is just a great feeling.
Nina Klein has been a wall in the net during her 4 years as starting goalkeeper. Klein has shut out some of the top teams in the country. She's the current UConn record holder with 35 shutouts, and she also has the records for wins with 79.
I would definitely say it's bittersweet. You know, I love playing on this field and playing with my team, but we're going to just keep moving forward, preparing for the next couple games.
And last but certainly not least, Charlotte Veitner has anchored this team during her time at UConn. She holds the school record for goals scored with 109, and she's a two-time, soon-to-be three-time Big East Offensive Player of the Year.
I was a little emotional earlier today, but it was awesome. And to have BC coming for this game is just, I mean, nothing can get better than this. Like, have an ACC team come that they're really high-ranked. They played a great game, so yeah, it was awesome.
They won, as freshmen, they won a national championship. They've won 4 consecutive regular season Big East championships, and now we get to go to the Big East tournament this weekend and try to win a fourth one. So they could really have a great career if we can do that, and then it's on to the postseason.
The Huskies return to action November 3rd as they take on Providence College in the first round of the Big East tournament.
Now, we want to give a quick update on the other fall and winter UConn teams that competed this last week. The women's track and field team made some headlines this week as they took home their first AAC Conference Championship in history. They were helped along by Brianna O'Brien, who was named the AAC Freshman of the Year. The team will look to keep their momentum going as they head into Buffalo on November 11th for the NCAA Northeast Regional. The men's hockey team traveled to Miami, Ohio to take on Miami this weekend, where they lost both games by the scores of 3-0 and 7-1. They will also have their next game on November 3rd when they take on Vermont in a 2-game home series at the XL Center.
Women's volleyball continued to play close games this weekend as they played Tulane and Houston at home, but ultimately lost both matches with a 3-2 score. This team has played close sets all season long, but need to close out those sets and win games if they want to see success as they get closer to closing out the season. Finally, the women's rowing team competed at the head of the Schuylkill Regatta over the weekend and finished with 3 top 5 finishes. The championship 8th place second, UConn's best finish of the day, only 8 seconds behind the first place team. The novice 8A took home 3rd, while the novice 8B took 14th. The women's club championship 8 finished in 4th. This wraps up the fall season for the team, and they will begin to prepare for the spring season during their intense winter training sessions.
And we'll wrap up the show with our usual segment, Huskies in the Pros, the continuing headline story being George Springer and the Houston Astros taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. Springer broke up Alex Wood's no-hitter in Game 4 with a home run. Then, on Sunday night, he went 2 for 3 with 3 runs in Game 5 with a home run in the 7th to tie the game up at 8. He joins a short list including Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig as the only players to hit 3 or more tying or go-ahead home runs in one World Series. The series stands at 3-2 Astros as the teams will head back to LA for Game 6 Tuesday night and, if needed, Game 7 on Wednesday.
It's all square between the Vancouver Whitecaps, home of former Husky Jake Nowinski, and the reigning MLS champions, Seattle Sounder. The Whitecaps will go to Seattle on Thursday in hopes of reaching the Western Conference Finals. Also, former UConn women's basketball standout Svetlana Abrosimova has announced on Twitter that she has been renamed the general manager for the Russian national basketball team. She was with UConn from 1997 to 2001 and is in the Huskies of Honor.
And one more thing before we go. It's a bit more serious than what we normally do, but it's important. One of the best women's basketball players ever to play at UConn, Breanna Stewart, published an article on the Players Tribune Monday morning, and it revealed her childhood struggle with sexual abuse. We encourage all our viewers to read it, and for anyone who may relate to her experience, Stewart writes, quote, "If you are being abused, tell somebody. If that person doesn't believe you, tell somebody else. A parent, a family member, a teacher, a coach, a friend's parent. Help is there."
And now that's going to do it for this edition of UC Sports. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at UCTV Sports and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the UCTV Channel 14, for all the UCTV coverage you could need. For Brandon Carney, I'm Christina Lenihan, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.